Roll with it. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Let's do a wrap up of what I read this month. I actually grabbed the books to share with you and I was very disappointed because I'm like, oh, I don't have a lot to share. And then I realized, oh, I have some review books that I did and then I'm like, oh, I actually have more than I originally thought. So that's pretty good. I also did a video in the middle of the month, kind of like with the library haul. Let me get that out of my eyes so I can see. And in that I had some books that I wrapped up with. So I have more than I thought. Just the last week or two I have barely been able to get any reading in. And so it feels like I should have more than I really do. Oh joy. So let's just get into the books here. Some of these, like, I did read this one. This is At Heaven's Edge, True Stories of Faith and Rescue by Andrea Jo Rogers. This is part of a team that I'm on, a launch team, I think is what they call it, or review team, or blogging team. It's on a, I'm with the team. I just don't know what our team's name is. Anyway, it will be up on my blog here shortly, and when it is, I'll leave that review in the link below because then you can jump and actually win a copy and win a giveaway and all that fun stuff. But this one is the True Stories of Faith and Rescue. It is told from a paramedic's perspective. I have a son that wants to be a firefighter, and I have a daughter that wants to go into the medical field somehow, some way. I'm not sure what it is. I thought this would be really good for me to read, and the stories I really liked. Midwife. We're on the midwife. Okay. Midwifery. Wait till she realizes that midwives is not necessarily called midwife. It might change again. Okay. All that to say, if you are reading this to want to see how God works, it's kind of sprinkled in there. But if you're wanting to read about some of these situations that these paramedics found themselves in, that was really fascinating. But insofar as the faith content, I would give it a pretty low rating. But the fascinating content was really up there. Very good. And that's all I'm going to be able to say about that until that review comes out. This review is out. This is the 60-day Enneagram devotional, The Peacemaker, Growing as an Enneagram 9 by an amazing author just from the name alone. Her name is Elizabeth Bennett. I thought that was so cool. Especially as a peacemaker. That's not what I would put Elizabeth Bennett as. But she actually, the author, pulled in a couple other resources to help write this devotional. And I want to talk a little bit about this for a minute because honestly I have been on the fence so long about the whole Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs and things like that. I just felt like it went too close to biblically what we're supposed to stay away from, until a friend said, well, it's not about foretelling your future, it's about kind of understanding your personality and how you can grow as a Christian in that. And once she said that, I was like, okay. And then I picked it up and read it, and then the author went into some really good points just within the introduction about the peacemaker, who I'm a 9, which is why I said, okay, I'll read it. Because I was like, hey, if you want to say that you understand me, I want to see what you're saying about you understanding me. And wow, there were so many times I picked this up and I ran to my husband. I picked it up, dashed into the room. It's like, somebody understands me. This is why I just want to sleep all the time. Not just because I'm tired, but because you get overwhelmed and it's kind of like I gotta shut down. I gotta redo something. So I really liked it from that. And then from a growth perspective, it was saying, okay, this is what biblically we are called to do. So now that you've recognized that this is a weakness of yours, that you need to grow into it, this is what we're called to do. And this is why we can't just accept us for who we are. We need to grow. And actually she says something in here that I'm actually going to read, because when I read it, like, all the tension I had about reading this and doing this kind of fell away. Some Enneagram teachers will tell you that you only need to focus on self-realization, pull yourself up by your proverbial bootstraps to grow out of your worst behaviors. Meditate. Focus on yourself. You're perfect just the way you are. Yet at the same time, stop being a pushover. However, I'm here to offer a different foundation for growth. As Christians, we know that we're flawed, sinful, and far from God's intended plan for humanity. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, are the lyrics of the famous hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, one of my personal favorites, about the reality of our hearts and their rebellious nature toward our Savior. This wandering is a problem. Sin is a problem. We are the problem. So telling us we ought to focus on ourselves to find growth will only lead us to more and more confusion. Hallelujah, praise Jehovah. Okay, tell me more. Yes, exactly. So after that, I read this book, loved it. I actually put the final publishing copy on my Christmas wish list. This is an ARC, so it's just a little book. Loved it. Gave it a raving review. You can read that blog post. It'll be linked down below. Okay. Those two books are out of the way. Those are kind of what made me feel a little bit better about myself this month. Two more books here. This poor, battered book has a very sad story. This is a very sad story. Mom, that was for you. And anybody that might recognize that record. Okay, this was When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. Let me give you a little backstory about this. I saw the trailer for this When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit, and I was disgusted, is the polite way of saying it. I could not understand what the whole hype was about this book. Just from the fact of the trailer, I wanted nothing to do with it. Nope. And then I found this at a secondhand store, had some credit, got it for free, and so I wanted to know what the hype was about this, because honestly it couldn't have been what the trailer was portraying it. It couldn't have been this making Hitler okay kind of thing. It couldn't have been. So I went on Google or on YouTube and I tried to find that trailer so I could link it down below, but the trailers I am seeing are not the trailers that I have in my mind. So I have no idea what that video was. If you know what I'm talking about, please tell me in the comments down below. What video did they just come out? It was either a boy or a girl, I have no idea, but she sees Hitler as Charlie Chaplin and he's kind of like guiding her throughout this time period. Help me, what movie is that? And so I read it and it was really, really interesting. I loved this perspective. This is about a family so they're born in Berlin, or it originates in Berlin. And the father is he is a newspaper article writer, and he's kind of speaking out against Hitler. And so dad escapes. Now I'm getting it confused with The Night Divided. Dad goes, he's sick, that's what it is. Dad goes, and he goes to Switzerland, and then just before Hitler's elected, he sends for his family, and they come, and they get to Switzerland. And then Hitler's elected. Switzerland, the schools are kind of shoddy. There's not much going on. Anna is kind of struggling a little bit, just to understand how life is supposed to work right now. And her brother is really struggling, and so they kind of figure out Switzerland, and then they realize they're really not welcome in Switzerland. Even though it's a neutral place, they're not really welcome, and they're kind of struggling. So they're going to go to France now and kind of figure out life there. So they get to France, and all this time they're writing to home, like in a secretive way, to kind of see what's going on. People that are like, oh, this is fine, you know, Hitler, it's not gonna last forever. They're realizing, I wish I would have listened to you. And this is just all through a young person's eyes. And it's not so much the scariness of World War II. It's kind of more beyond the shadows and the progression that it took before we led up to World War II. And this is a series. I learned that when I was looking this up. And then they get to France, or France. I think it's France. I'm pretty sure it's France. I think it's Paris. And if you remember, Paris was taken over in World War II, so you're kind of like wondering, this is not the best place to be. The dad is a wanted man for all of his propaganda. And, you know, they're now the kids are trying to live in France from being from Berlin, learning a new language, learning how to live in this place. They weren't necessarily wealthy, but they were better off than where they are now, where nobody really is wanting to print anything. And so then it's kind of like, okay, we need to find somewhere else to go so we can actually live and survive and all that. So that is what this one is all about. It was pretty surprisingly very good. I had very low expectations going into this, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It made me think of like Number the Stars, and how gentle that is for children. I would also say this is similar, and again, it's kind of based on the author's own experiences, which I really appreciate that. Again, I was really pleasantly surprised. I think I gave it like a 3-star. It kind of borderlines between 3 and 3.5. Didn't quite meet 4 for me, but 3 almost seems too low. So I would say like a 3.5, and normally when I hit that, I round up to the next star, but it's not quite a 4-star for me. So we're going to leave it at that. Let's get on to the next book, which is Ninth Ward by Jewel Parker Road. Okay, so this takes place leading up to Hurricane Katrina. I had this book back in California, and I ended up getting rid of it because, you know, you're trying to pare down. And then I found it up here at a secondhand store for 25 cents. So I grabbed it, made this kind of a priority to read this year. It won the Coretta Scott King Award for Nonviolent. And I had such high expectations for this book. So a lot of this book centers around their spiritualism, and our main character can see ghosts of dead people, and until they're just like put to rest and everything. The most ironic thing about this book is last week I went and got a massage because my arm kept going numb and I needed a knot worked out that my family couldn't do. So the person that worked it out was labeled Christian. I went in and she was talking to me about how she sees spirits. She lives right next door to the mortuary, and these spirits come to her before they're put to rest. She had to have her house cleansed of them. And then there's one ghost spirit that watches over her at night. He opens the door to the bedroom to let her know that he's standing over her, watching her. Of course, she's telling me while she's working out these knots, and I'm like, you might have to start digging deeper because I think another one's coming. I didn't say that, but that's my first thought. I'm like, what the heck did I get into? I need to get out of here. And then I pick up this book. It was a very weird week. Anyway, it's very culturally accurate, if I remember correctly. A lot of New Orleans, I believe it's New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans, the Ninth Ward, have a lot of the, like the Mardi Gras, the spiritualism, the spirits, and special spirituality. I'm trying to think of the word, like things that they can do. So Mama Yaya, who's this girl's guardian, her mother died in childbirth. That's another thing. She can see her mom, but she can't talk to her mom, and then you find out why later on. But Mama Yaya can, she has dreams and predict the future, and she keeps dreaming something bad is coming, and she just can't figure out what. Because it's not, and in the dream, it's not the hurricane. The hurricane is not the horror thing coming. Mama Yaya is also a diabetic. It seems that diabetes plays a huge part in a lot of the fiction books that I read of Hurricane Katrina. which I found very interesting. The other one I read, which was, I'm going to put the title here. I can see the picture. It has to do with Louis Armstrong, and it's about the boy that plays the clarinet during Hurricane Katrina. That one also had a diabetic side character. So I just thought that was really interesting that the few Hurricane Katrina books that I've read both have there was 3 books I've read. I think all of them have a diabetic side character. I thought that was very interesting, especially for this area. Is that very popular? I don't know, but it makes me wonder. Anyway, these are the days leading up to Hurricane Katrina. And our main character is kind of an ousted person. She's got something different with her eyes that makes everybody think she's a witch or possessed or something. And then she's just not a normal girl. She's very clever. She's very smart. And she has that engineering mind. And so she's very alone. And you get to see a lot of that struggles from her trying to get through life. I feel like I very stumbled over that, and I apologize. Also, kids running through. My brain is not... Door's not locked. So there was that. There was also a couple other characters that start coming into play. There was... there is a neighbor boy that has an interesting family, and he'll kind of come into it. So basically, all of that to say, like, maybe 2.5 stars, it was okay. It wasn't my kind of thing, especially the whole spiritualism, which was a huge part of this book. Really, I was not comfortable with it. You do get the Hurricane Katrina. You do get the aftermath that Hurricane Katrina brought. And I really liked that. We got to see some of that. I feel like that isn't discussed so much. And I almost wanted another chapter to see that they're still struggling. Like, people in New Orleans where Hurricane Katrina was, especially the 9th Ward, they're still struggling to rebuild. There's still a lot of issues that are still needing to be resolved. And it's been, 10 years? When was Hurricane Katrina? 2007? 2005. See, I have my wonderful...
15.
What? Wait, 2015?
No, 2005, I think it's been 15 years.
Yeah. Thank you. Wait. Yeah, it's been 15 years. Thank you, Steven. 15 years, and they're still trying to rebuild from that. So, again, I'm just disappointed. I really not into the ghost and the spiritualism aspect. I know it's a huge part of this culture. Just not a part of mine. Did it take away from the story? It kind of did, because, again, it was such a focal point of it, and at one point when she's struggling, the spirits and the ghosts are the ones that kind of save her, and it's just unrealistic to me at that point. And something with this, you just want that final gumption or that final strength to come from the character. So that's my thought on that. Everybody might have different opinion, whatever. House Full of Books on Instagram. Her name's Helena. She's in United Kingdom. Surely everybody knows her. Had a readathon to kind of go with the August challenge, and one of them was what I chose was the Phantom Tollbooth. It's one that I remember I was in this ballet when I was a kid, and I remember reading it then, but I was like 9 years old. And I know I picked it up at another point in my life. I just didn't remember any of it. And so it's been really busy here, so I went on YouTube to see if I could find someone reading this, and I did, and I think she's a teacher. The narration is, not superb. Again, it's just a teacher wanting to reach her students, is my opinion on that. And so I'm finishing it up. It's not quite done, and I forgot how clever this book is with a lot of its one-liners. There's a specific term for it, and I can't think what it's called. He's on this quest to rescue Rhyme and Reason. But like everything has to do with how words are used and how words are put together. The one-liners. Oh my goodness, I can't remember any of it. I can't remember how to. Silence is Golden. Dictionopolis. I loved that. They're living Dictionopolis. Anyway, it's just how words are put together. There's some one-liners like how time flies that will come in. You know, certain things like that. And I can't think of that word. Anyway, love this book, guys. This is a great read aloud book, and because of that, like my husband was listening with me when he would walk through, and he would just stop and laugh hilariously. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be our next family read aloud. We're finishing up Elizabeth Yates' Patterns on the Wall. It used to have a different name, and I can't remember it, but the painter, the journeyman, I think it was the journeyman. It had a different name. Anyway, it's been a very slow book. I don't think my kids are really into it all that much. They're like, it's okay. My husband is really enjoying it, but I think we need a lighter one, especially because I tend to read that book kind of at the end of the day. So I think we're going to do Phantom Tollbooth. Really enjoyed that. I'm not quite finished. I think I have about a quarter of the left through, but I'm going to throw it in here. And the last book I'm going to talk about is Nowhere Boy by Catherine Marsh. This takes place in 2016 because a presidential election is talked about. It's talked about, but this takes place in Belgium. And you have two main characters. You have one main character that has escaped Syria, and he's hiding in the basement of an American boy who is in Belgium basically as a last resort for his education. And the American boy is a very bitter kind of whatever, I don't care about life kind of mentality. And he's flunking everything. And now he's in Belgium. Now he's at the school. He's got to learn French. He's terrible at a lot of these things. And he's just whatever. I don't care about life anymore. And the Assyrian boy is just trying to survive. Down in this basement all alone. Nobody knows he's there. Well, then these two boys come across each other. And this book was phenomenal. It was very good. There's nothing in here that I object to other than the fact that it's a typical American parent. And there's just a little bit of you that wants a non-typical. I want a happy parent, a happy marriage. And they kind of, Catherine Marsh kind of danced that line a little bit between these stupid American parent families that everybody likes to write about nowadays and the strong American family with a little bit of issues to work with. Like, she really danced that line. I think tried to balance both. And then the sibling rivalry is a part of it, but also you see, again, a different perspective of that. So that's probably why I like this so much, is that it wasn't far-fetched for people that do have family struggles, but it also was a little relevant to the other side of the coin, where children have good relationships with each other or with their siblings, and the parents aren't your atypical whatever. Again, it was a very delicate line. It kept, for the most part, I kept thinking, ugh, I have a way to look at it. I do. Lizzie McGuire. Those parents. That's kind of what it was like, but a little bit smarter. So I really liked this. I liked the perspective of these Islamic people trying to find shelter from the violent Islamic side. I also really liked seeing how those that don't understand Islam, how they were trying to be respectful of that, trying to help, trying to learn, trying to educate themselves. I really liked that perspective as well. All in all, phenomenal book. Nowhere Boy by Catherine Marsh. I loved it. Okay, I'm also going to be sharing in this video about the Hey Reader-a-Thon that Chantal from Intentional Life is doing this month in October. And I'm trying to pull it up so I can get all the... I have a stack of books here for the Hey Reader-a-Thon that Chantal's doing. On the dates, that's going to be the most busiest week of my month. that being said, I'm really hoping I should try to like put as many book prompts together in one book as I can, and I'm probably going to do that. But if it wasn't the busiest month, I'm going to show you the books I would have chosen. So, the Hey Reader app, I will leave the information on that below for you. It's a free app that kind of just puts a lot of these TBR lists. And Chantal is doing a Reader-a-Thon. So we all jump in and we all participate. So the first one is orange on the cover, and my immediate thought was Radical by David Platt. This is a nonfiction, which also means I would not get this done in a week. Nonfiction for me takes a lot longer. I need several breaks in between my readings to kind of process, formulate thoughts, opinions, kind of balance it with, especially a book like this, balance it with scripture, like what does scripture say, just because I'm more cautious about things like that. And so that was my immediate thought when it said orange on the cover. And if I had all the time in the world, I would try to do this. I would really try to get it done. I would actually probably get the audio book because I think I couldn't stop. I would just have to listen and be like, okay, let me just get a whole broad view. And then if I found it really good, I could go back and do what I normally do. But for the fall recommendations, that also has orange in the cover. Chantal suggested a Anne of Green Gables book. Well, every October I read an Anne. So I'm on book 5. So I'm on year 5. Wow, that's crazy. I'm on year 5 of reading a Anne book every October, and I'm on Anne's House of Dreams. This has been the best thing I have done in my reading thing, was to read an Anne every October. And I have not forgotten where we left off, so I can kind of move forward because it's Anne and it sticks with you. And I think of Ella Montgomery and all these people that, you know, were waiting for the next installment. And so that's just a little sweetness to it. So I'm going to do Anne's House of Dreams for sure in October. It's got orange in it. I have all of these books that I have to finish from the library. I had to renew them for a 3rd time, and the librarians were not happy about that, so I really need to make this a priority. But for the Hey Reader-a-Thon, this fulfills a prompt for something Chantal recommended. Orange on the cover. It does not, unless we took out the it does not fulfill a 3-word title, unfortunately, and it does not include the word water in it, but Anne will happen. 3 words in the title. I chose the Devils Arithmetic, which a little bit of orange, like right there. This is mainly red, I think. But the Devils Arithmetic is so interesting because a friend of mine picked it up and said that she liked the movie better than the book, if I remember correctly. And so now I'm like really intrigued. So I had this one to set and read this month, and then I saw her reading it, and so now I'm really interested in making sure that this happens, and it's a nice thin book. So I for sure can get that done during the Reader-a-Thon. I'm really excited about that. I have two things for the first in the series, and I haven't decided which one. So anyway, I have Emily of New Moon. It's one that I have been wanting to read, but I'm kind of like, I should probably finish Anne of Green Gables first, but I don't need to do Emily of New Moon every October. Like, I'm totally fine with that. So this one has me a little bit, I think I might hesitate with that a little bit for this month. I think I just want to focus on Anne. So then if that's how I end up doing, I have The Merchant's Daughter by Melanie Dickerson. Melanie Dickerson is a Christian author, and she basically rewrote all the Disney fairy tales. And I put Disney in there because I think they're closer to Disney than they are to the actual fairy tales. The Merchant's Daughter is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Emma! My daughter's right up. She loves them. Emma! Yes, is Merchant's Daughter a Beauty and the Beast retelling? It's got a mirror with a guy cracked inside of it.
It's the Beauty and the Beast.
Thank you. It is Beauty and the Beast retelling. Love it. Okay. So I've been wanting to read these and get these and kind of figure out what my thoughts are on them. I think this is going to be, I mean, it just feels kind of fallish, you know, cold and little, this is about as creepy as I'm going to get outside of, you know, other things. So I think this might be it. So 3-word title, orange on the cover, and a Chantal recommendation. 4th prompt. The next one includes Water in the World, and this is another one that I've long been wanting to read. And I found a copy of it the other day at the thrift store. I picked it up. It's Peace Like a River by Leif Enger. And then another book mama friend of mine always recommends this. This is like something that she gave her daughters, I believe, to read. Or as a gift as part of their 18th birthday, they get 18 books that should carry them on in her life. And I think this is a big part of that. So I would really like to read this one. Oh, it takes place in Minnesota. I'm close to Minnesota. So I would love to try to get this, but I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood for Peace Like a River. I don't know. It has a blizzard in here. I don't know. So I have that one. Okay, that's it.
No. Hi.
So I think I'm going to try to focus on these 4 books during the Reader-a-Thon. For sure in October. This would definitely be able to be finished during the Reader-a-Thon. It's Christian, it's YA. This would totally be able to be finished during the Reader-a-Thon. Okay, these are the 4 I'm going to try to do for the Reader-a-Thon, and yes, I put them in here. And then these are the books that I finished in the month of September, plus all the ones that I had in that other video. So it was okay. It was a good reading month. I'm actually very happy at the end of the day at what I almost accomplished. I still gotta finish one. So I will try to leave all the links to these down below so you can go and check them out. I do use Amazon affiliate links because it helps my channel out, and they have reviews on there, they have more information on there, but they're not necessarily the best price. Library is free, best way to do it. And Surf Books is another one that I really like because it's free shipping after $10. A lot of people rave about Bookoutlet, but I think those are all new books. And Better World Books, I think, is another very cheap way to get a secondhand book, of course. Just write titles down and keep it with you when you're at the thrift store, yard sales, things like that. That's another fantastic way to do it. So, all that to say, I will see you in my next video, but until then, have another cup of coffee, read another chapter.